guys. So we are going to start the book, The World of Pooh. Now it's a classic and one of my favorites to read to my children. This one is actually the original. So let's get going. Chapter 1, in which we are introduced to Winnie the Pooh and some bees. And the story begins. Here is Edward Bear, coming downstairs now. Bump, bump, bump. On the back of his head behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs. But sometimes he feels that there really is another way, if only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. And then he feels that perhaps there isn't. Anyhow, here he is at the bottom and ready to be introduced to you, Winnie the Pooh. When I first heard his name, I said, and probably just as you're going to say, but I thought he was a boy. So did I, said Christopher Robin. Then you can't call him Winnie. I don't. But you said he's Winnie the Pooh. Don't you know what "the" means? Here's him coming down the stairs. Ah, yes, now I do, I said quickly, and I hope you do too, because it is all the explanation you are going to get. Sometimes Winnie the Pooh likes a game of some sort when he comes downstairs, and sometimes he likes to sit quietly in front of the fire and listen to a story, just as you are right now. This evening, what about a story, said Christopher Robin. What about a story, I said. Could you very sweetly tell Winnie the Pooh one? I suppose I could, I said. What sort of stories does he like? About himself, said Christopher Robin, because he's that sort of bear. Oh, I see. So could you very sweetly? I'll try, I said. So I tried. Once upon a time, a very long time ago now, about last Friday, Winnie the Pooh lived in a forest all by himself under the name of Sanders. What does under the name mean? Asked Christopher Robin. It means that he had a name over the door in gold letters and he lived under it. Winnie the Pooh wasn't quite sure, said Christopher Robin. Now I am, I said in a growly voice. Then I'll go on, I said. See right here, under the name of Sanders. One day, when he was out walking, he came to an open place in the middle of the forest. And in the middle of this place was a large oak tree. And from the top of the tree, there came a loud, buzzing noise. Winnie the Pooh sat down at the foot of the tree, put his head between his paws, and began to think. First of all, he said to himself, that buzzing noise means something. You don't get a buzzing noise like that, just buzzing and buzzing without its meaning something. If there's a buzzing noise, somebody is making a buzzing noise. And the only reason for making a buzzing noise that I know of is because you're a bee. Then he thought another long time and said, the only reason for being a bee that I know of is making honey. And then I got up and I said, and the only reason for making honey is so I can eat it. And so he began to climb the tree. He climbed and he climbed and he climbed, and as he climbed, he sang a little song to himself. It went like this. Isn't it funny how a bear likes honey? Bzz, bzz, bzz. I wonder why he does. Then he climbed a little further and a little further and then just a little further. By the time he had thought of another song. It's very funny, thought that if bears were bees, they'd build their nests at bottom of trees. And that being so, if the bees were bears, I shouldn't have to climb up all these stairs. He was getting rather tired by this time, so that is why he sang a song about complaining. He was nearly there now, and if he just stood on that branch, crack! What do you think happened? Yep, he's falling. Oh, help, said Pooh as he dropped 10 feet on the branch below him. If only I hadn't, he said, as he bounced 20 feet onto the next branch. You see, what I meant to do, he explained, as he turned head over heels and crashed onto another branch 30 feet below. What I meant to do? Of course, it was rather, he admitted, as he slithered very quickly through the next 6 branches. It all comes, I suppose, he decided. As he said goodbye to the last branch, he spun around 3 times and flew gracefully into a gorse bush. It all comes of liking honey so much. Oh, help. He crawled out of the gorse bush, brushed the prickles from his nose, and began to think again. And the first person he thought of was Christopher Robin. Was that me? Said Christopher Robin in an odd voice, hardly daring to believe it. That was you. Christopher Robin said nothing, but his eyes got larger and larger, and his face got pinker and pinker. So Winnie the Pooh went round to his friend Christopher Robin, who lived behind a green door in another part of the forest. Good morning, Christopher Robin, he said. Good morning, Winnie the Pooh, said you. I wonder if you've got such a thing as a balloon about you. A balloon? Yes, I said to myself coming along. I wonder if Christopher Robin has such a thing as a balloon about him. I just said it to myself, thinking of balloons and wondering. What do you want a balloon for? You said. Winnie the Pooh looked around to see that nobody was listening. He put his paw to his mouth and said in a deep whisper, Honey. But you don't get honey with balloons. Well, I do, said Pooh. Well, it just happened that you had been to a party the day before at the house of your friend Piglet, and you had balloons at the party. You had a big green balloon. And one of Rabbit's relations, he had a big blue one and had left it behind, and being really too young to go to a party at all. And so you brought the green one and the blue one home with you. Which one would you like? You asked Phil. But he put his head between his paws and thought very carefully. It's like this, he said. When you go after honey with a balloon, the great thing is not to let the bees know you're coming. Now, if you have a green balloon, they might think you were only part of the tree and not notice you. And if you have a blue balloon, they might think you were only part of the sky and not notice you either. So the question is, which is most likely? What would you choose? Wouldn't they notice you underneath the balloon? You asked. They might, or they might not, said Winnie the Pooh. You never can tell with those bees. He thought for a moment and said, I shall try to look like a small black cloud. That will deceive them. Then you better have the blue balloon, you said. And so it was decided. Well, you both went out with the blue balloon, and you took your gun with you just in case, as you always did. And Winnie the Pooh went to a very muddy place that he knew of and rolled and rolled and rolled until he was black all over from the mud. And then when the balloon was blown up as big, and you and Pooh were both holding on to the string, you let go suddenly, and Pooh Bear floated gracefully up into the sky and stayed there level with the top of the tree and about 20 feet away from it. Hooray, you shouted. That isn't fine, shouted Winnie the Pooh down to you. What do I look like? And you could see Pooh Bear flying with the balloon right there with the bees. You look like a bear holding onto a balloon, you said. Not, said Pooh anxiously, not like a small black cloud in the blue sky? Not very much. Oh, well, perhaps from up here it looks different. And as I say, you never can tell with bees. There was no wind to blow him near to the tree, so there he stayed, and he just floated, just like this. He could see the honey. He could smell the honey, but he couldn't quite reach the honey. After a little while, he called down to you. "Christopher Robin," he said in a loud whisper. "Hello. I think the bee suspects something." "What sort of thing?" Pooh says, "I don't know, but something tells me that they're suspicious. Perhaps they think that you're after their honey." "It may be that," says Pooh. "You can never tell with these bees." There was another little silence, and then he called down to you again. "Christopher Robin!" "Yes?" "Have you an umbrella in your house?" "I think so," I said. "I wish you would bring it out here and walk up and down with it and look up at me every now and then and say, 'Tut, tut, tut. It looks like rain.' I think if you did that, it would help the deception which we are practicing on these bees." "Well," you laughed to yourself, "silly old bear," but you didn't say it out loud because you were so fond of him, and you went home for your umbrella. "Oh, there you are," called down Winnie the Pooh as soon as you got back to the tree. "I was beginning to get anxious. I had discovered that the bees are now definitely suspicious." "Shall I put my umbrella up?" you said. "Yes," said Pooh, "but wait a minute. We must be practical. The important bee to deceive is the queen bee. Can you see which is the queen bee from down there?" "Nope." "A pity," said Pooh. "Well, now, if you walk up and down with your umbrella saying, 'Tut, tut, tut,' it looks like rain. I shall do what I can by singing a little cloud song, such as a cloud might sing. Go." So this is Christopher Robin walking up and down with his umbrella. So while you walked up and down and wondered if it would rain, Winnie the Pooh sang this song. "How sweet to be a cloud floating in the blue. Every little cloud always sings aloud. How sweet it is to be a cloud floating in the blue. It makes him very proud to be a little cloud." The bees were still buzzing as suspiciously as ever, but some of them indeed left their nest and flew all around the cloud as it began the second verse of this song. And one bee sat down on the nose of the cloud for a moment and then got up again. "Christopher Owl Robin!" called out the cloud. "Yes," said Christopher Robin. "I have just been thinking, and I have come to a very important decision. These are the wrong sort of bees." "Are they?" said Christopher Robin. "Quite the wrong sort. So I should think they would make the wrong sort of honey, shouldn't you?" "Would they?" said Christopher Robin. "Yes. So I think I shall come down." "How? How are you going to come down?" Winnie the Pooh hadn't thought about this. If he let go of the string, he would fall. Bump! And he didn't like the idea of that. So he thought for a long time, and then he said, "Christopher Robin, you must shoot the balloon with your gun. Have you got your gun?" "Of course I have," you said. "But if I did that, it would spoil the balloon," you said. "But if you don't," said Pooh, "I shall have to let go, and that would spoil me." When he put it like this, you saw how it was, and you aimed very carefully at the balloon and fired. "Ow!" said Pooh. "Did I miss?" you asked. "You didn't miss exactly," Pooh said, "but you missed the balloon." "I'm so sorry," you said, and you fired again. And this time you hit the balloon, and the air came slowly out, and Winnie the Pooh floated down to the ground. But his arms were so stiff from holding on to the string of the balloon all the time that he stayed up straight in the air for more than a week. And whenever a fly came and settled on his nose, he had to blow it off like this. And I think, but I'm not sure, that is why he is always called Pooh. See his little arms sticking up? Is that the end of the story? Asked Christopher Robin. That's the end of that one. But there are others. About me and Pooh? Said Christopher Robin. And Piglet and Rabbit and all of you. Don't you remember? Christopher Robin says, I do remember. And then when I try to remember, I forget. That day when Pooh and Piglet tried to catch the heffalump, they didn't catch it, did they? Nope. Pooh couldn't because he hasn't any brain. Well, Christopher Robin said, did I catch it? Well, that comes into the story. Christopher Robin nodded. I do remember, he said. Only Pooh doesn't very well. So that's why he likes having it told to him again and again and again. Because then it's a real story and not just a remembering. That's just how I feel, I said. Christopher Robin gave a deep sigh, picked up his bear by the leg, and walked off to the door, trailing Pooh behind him. At the door, he turned and said, coming to see me have my bath? I might, I said. I didn't hurt him when I shot him, did I? Said Christopher Robin. No, not a bit. He nodded and went out, and in a moment, I heard Winnie the Pooh, bump, 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 going up the stairs behind him. So that was chapter 1. What'd you think? There's a few words in here that I want to point out. If you want to kind of elaborate on this a little bit more, I'll post it in the links and then have a little activity that you could do along with each chapter as well. Hope you enjoyed it.